Thank you. Thank you so much for your practice. I really appreciate it. I'll show you the picture I got for you. You are gonna love this. Do I share the screen first and then show the picture? There it is. Can you see it? Can you see the picture? No? Okay. Oh, shoot. Oh, you share here. Okay, try this. Now can you see it? Can you see the picture now? Yay! Okay. Oh, so good at this. I'm so good at this. Okay, this is a picture from one of those telescopes, and each of those shiny dots is a galaxy. And this is one little teeny tiny look from that telescope that's on a satellite or something into the universe. And each of those dots is a galaxy, and each galaxy has 100 billion stars. And each star has at least one planet. So that's 800 billion planets in each galaxy. And you would have to count the galaxies here. There's a lot. And on the Earth, there's 8 billion people. So that's our situation. That's who we are. We're one little person on the Earth of 8 billion people on a planet that's one of 100 billion planet in our galaxy. Anyway, it's unfathomable. It's unfathomable. That's who we are. That guy. And interestingly enough, the comments were really angry. People got really angry because, not him, but the guy who originally posted it said, see how insignificant we are. And people got really angry. I'm not insignificant. I'm really important. So from a Buddhist standpoint, that's what I want to talk about. From a Buddhist standpoint, who are we? What are we? So I was going through some old files, and I found this file called Dharma Pith. And in it is this thing that Maezumi Roshi wrote up for me. Okay, now how do I don't want to share this anymore. Oh dear, it's so complicated. Okay, I am screen sharing. Then I go here and I go here. There we go. So first of all, it's interesting that he wrote it on United States Navy notepaper, which I'm guessing is because Kaigan, McMahon, Barry McMahon, who was studying with Maezumi Roshi at the time, had been in the Navy. So I'm guessing he gave him this notepaper. I don't know. But I have hardly anything that Roshi wrote. He never, and I can hardly remember that he wrote this for me, probably at the end of my formal study, I'm guessing. But this says 3 Principles of Buddhism. Gyoko Roshi, who was a teacher of Koryu Roshi, who was a teacher of Maezumi Roshi. The 3 principles of Buddhism. The first one is Maha Prajna Paramita, is the primary meaning of Buddhism. Contemplate it deeply from the bottom of your mind. Number 2 is the 3 studies, and the 3 studies are the precepts, samadhi, and wisdom are the key to attaining the Buddha way. Maintain it diligently from the bottom of your mind. And you know that mind in Chinese, the character for mind, which is Shin, translates sometimes as mind, sometimes as heart, but it's not how we think of mind as our little thinker. But this mind is big mind, as Genpo Roshi would say, is heart, the heart mind. So when it says the bottom of your mind, the bottom of your heart mind. And then the third is the 4 vast vows are our original vows. Practice them reverently from the bottom of your mind. Every time I read this, I see something new, but there are original vows. So to me, that means our innate vows, the vows we're born with, are the 4 vast vows, which we chant every day, sometimes a couple times a day. So in that same folder, there's something from the Bow and Family Systems, which Elder Bob studied. Elder Bob was originally a psychiatrist maybe, but then he studied therapy later on, and he studied the Bowen family systems. But anyway, what I wrote down is very simply, self-observation is not self-blame. That's a Dharma pit. But in our practice, we study the self, right? Dogen Zenji said to study the Buddha way is to study the self. And when we do study the self, which is what sessing is about, sessing is study the self time. We see things, we see all sorts of things. And part of what we see is our failures, our errors, how we harm ourselves and others. And it's good. It's good to see ourselves. It's good to study ourselves. But it's a woman who made this quote. Harriet, looks like, I can't remember writing. Leonard. I assume Harriet's a woman. Anyway, what she says is self-observation is not self-blame. So as these things come up, it's so easy to fall into some kind of real negative space as we see how our greed, anger, ignorance is the root of suffering. That's what Buddha taught. The root of suffering is greed, anger, ignorance. When we see that and see our greed, anger, ignorance, that can lead to self-blame. And that is breaking the precepts to hate ourselves, to judge ourselves. So that was one of the things in here. And then another thing in this folder is perverted views. I don't know where this comes from. Perverted views are attempting to seek permanence in what is essentially impermanent. And that goes back to the Prajnaparamita. Prajnaparamita, the first of the three principles, Maha Prajnaparamita, is the primary meaning of Buddhism. And that Maha Prajnaparamita is not knowing, emptiness, constant change. So to try to make that permanent, to try to make anything permanent is a perverted view, because the nature of our life is constant change. And then another perverted view is to see ease in what is suffering. Boy, don't I do that. Well, it's okay. It's fine. It's fine that people are trying to kill each other all over the place. All of the suffering in the world. It's fine. Everything's okay. Just have another joint, another glass of wine. That's the thing about New Year's that always amazes me. The first New Year's I ever did that I sat through the New Year's was in the 70s, 1975, maybe 6. Chosen was there, and I think Shishin was there. And I was so unhappy because I like a party. I still do. I like a party. I like to anesthetize myself a little bit and forget about the suffering of the world. I don't say that's a bad thing to do. But I think it's very, very beneficial to not do that for New Year's. To really sit, and again, sessing is about facing reality, facing the reality of our true nature. Which, as the Four Noble Truths said, our true nature is suffering, and there's an end to that suffering. What? To accept everything's constantly changing. So anyway, to ignore the suffering of the world is a perverted view. To find selfhood in no self, it's a perverted view. So that's what I think. All these people who got so angry about having the universe put in front of our face, having our position in the universe put in front of our face, is to face reality. Really, my needs, my desires, my opinion is so infinitesimally small in the universe that to hang on to it is suffering. And to try to create a selfhood, to try to create a self who wants to win, who wants to be the best, who wants to get the award, who wants to whatever, our greed, anger, ignorance, and to make that into a self is a perverted view, because our true nature is no self. That's Maha Prajnaparamita, no self. And oh my gosh, how grand is that? Because then what are you? You forget yourself. What are you? And if I could work this thing, I'd flip that picture up, but hopefully it's in your mind. That's what you are. Only multiply that. Billions and billions and billions, as Dr. Sagan said, of galaxies and stars and beings and landscapes. That's what you are. That's your nature. But you're not going to get it as long we are not going to realize that as long as we hold on to our little idea of self. And again, a perverted view is to delight in what is repulsive. What is repulsive? Hatred of others. Raising myself and putting down others. So anyway, that's the other pith that's in here. Oh my God, it's all here. So it's too much. So the first one I already talked about. Maha Prajna Paramita is the primary meaning. That is emptiness, no self. The oneness, the interconnection of everything. What am I? I am the whole universe. And what is my nature? Constantly changing. And to realize that, and realizing it intellectually is kind of nice, but to realize it, or as Roshi said, from the bottom of your mind, realize no self, Maha Prajna Paramita, which is the birthplace of all of the universe. And that's what you are. And realize that. Best way to do that, in my opinion, Zazen. In my opinion, nothing like Zazen. And of course, there are many spiritual practices. But to practice like this, doing Zazen together, that is an excellent path to realizing Maha Prajna Paramita. Then the next one is study. And the order is interesting. The precepts, samadhi, and wisdom. We often think of samadhi first. So when you realize no self, when the self drops off, that experience is that samadhi, which is wonderful. When all the pain and suffering of my little ego, all the struggles that my little ego goes through, being the best and getting what I want and being right and judging everything, and let go of all of that. Feels great. And that's samadhi. And that comes out of Zazen. Again, the stories have someone hears a sound and has a samadhi experience or whatever, but the Zazen is the practice, or at least a big practice that the samadhi comes out of. And then samadhi, of course, is seeing the oneness of all things. No self, no nothing, the oneness. And wisdom, so he says the three studies are precept, samadhi, and wisdom. Wisdom is seeing the differences, seeing things as they are, and the uniqueness, so that billions and billions of stars, planets, people, each is unique. I don't know if there's anything that isn't unique. There might be, like little teeny atoms or something, but I don't know if they can exist without something else. our DNA, our situation. Each of us is completely unique and perfect. And to realize that, that's the wisdom. And then also to realize, as that other one talked about, I put it away, but I shouldn't have yet. When we see reality, wisdom is seeing what is repulsive, to delight in war. Oh my God, I saw a thing on YouTube, delighting in this guy delighting in flamethrowers in Vietnam, and how you could use those on one of those tunnels and just clean it out, which means kill everybody that was in that tunnel with a flamethrower. And they're all laughing and playing with the flamethrower. To delight in what is repulsive is not wisdom. Wisdom is to see the repulsive as it is repulsive, and to see suffering as suffering and name it as such. Okay, that's wisdom. And then the precepts are to help us do this. Okay, so we get this no self, this great no self, and we get that experience, and it's terrific. And we get the oneness, and we get it with our gut. And we develop wisdom, seeing what is repulsive is repulsive. And then we struggle because we have our little greed, anger, ignorance. All of us have that yelling at us all the time. But get more. I need more YouTube. So the precepts is our path to living a life of samadhi and wisdom, or wisdom and compassion. Out of not knowing comes wisdom and compassion. And the precepts are our guides how to live with wisdom and compassion, with that little ego running around yelling at us. So the thing that really interested me, all of that I kind of, and it's something I teach a lot, but the thing that really interested me was, and Roshi gave this to me at the end of my study, and the third principle is the 4 vows, which I don't know that I thought about the 4 vows that much. We say them all the time, but kind of say them by rote, the importance of the 4 vows. So that's our path, to choose this path, to choose not to delight, not to take ease in suffering or what is repulsive, to choose to see life as it is, and to dedicate our life to that. And what that looks like doesn't mean even doing Zen practice. It like Roshi says, or this Gyoko Roshi says, these original vows are something we're born with. Bruno agrees. The rules say you're not supposed to have someone else in the room, but I can't keep him out. I think I was too intense. So anyway, original vows. This is what we're born with. It's not an idea. It's not something that's put upon us. This is what we're born with. And then we do this stuff of delighting in what is repulsive and taking ease in suffering, and we ignore these vows. So going through them, the first one is beings are boundless, we vow to serve. So that boundless, I already showed you that boundless and explained that boundless. It's not just all the humans on this planet. beings in the whole universe are literally boundless, infinite. And we vow as bodhisattvas to serve. I read something today. Somebody said they wanted to bend down to help others. And it's not this vow. This vow is to serve others, to raise up, to serve others, and to raise others up above us. And some people say save, and then people thought that was kind of condescending to say, but the service particularly is to help all beings realize the oneness and interconnectedness of everything, because out of that comes wisdom and compassion and the precepts and samadhi. So, but as Bernie would say, people who are hungry, people who don't have housing, people who are oppressed, very hard to practice in those situations. So to make the situation such that all beings can realize no self, then delusion is inexhaustible. We vow to transform. So delusion, we say, we talk about in terms of the 5 families, we talk about delusion. And each delusion, the energy, it's not that we get rid of it, because you can't get rid of anything. And trying to do that doesn't work. Oh, I'm just not gonna judge anymore. Well, we keep judging. But that energy can transform through practice. And by practice, it means opening up to it, opening up. And the delusions are greed. Greed becomes abundance. So open up to, I just want a Mercedes Benz. That's the last song that she wrote. No, I forgot her name. I am so old. Janice. It's the last song she wrote. Was really about greed and being sarcastic. I just want a Mercedes Benz and a color TV and a good looking guy. That's all I want. And how painful it is to live with that greed. So when we work with it, work with it. I just want this, be that energy, be whatever that energy, and get to know it. We think of it as yellow. It might be yellow for you. It might be a different color. We think of it as being in the center of our body, being the second chakra, but it might be a different place. But get to know that greed, and it transforms into abundance. There's enough for everybody. Everything is already here. We already have everything. It's the same energy. So then lust, so I said a good looking guy, there's 2 greeds in the 5 families. One is the greed for stuff, the Mercedes Benz and the color TV. It used to be we didn't all have color TVs, by the way. But anyway, that used to be a really cool thing, have a color TV. But anyway, the good-looking guy, the lust, the needing somebody, that need for love, for sex, for whatever that is. Oh, it's so powerful. And that's the first chakra. So powerful and red. That energy transforms into love and compassion for all beings. And again, we find out there's love everywhere. There's dogs, for instance, who want to go for a walk. Love everywhere. So that's transform that neediness into compassion. Then fear, sometimes they say envy. I don't know. To me, it feels more like fear. I don't know what it is, but it's this chakra, what we call the heart chakra, which is connected to action. So the fear or the envy or just the kind of like being immobilized, like catatonic, transforms into action, loving action. So that's the Avalokitesvara, the many hands and arms of Avalokitesvara is the green energy, which is, I kind of see it as fear. Fear of, if I really take action for the sake of all beings, I'll be hurt. There's that movie where the priest is, I think it's called The Priest, knows about child abuse, and because it's in confession, he feels like he can't say anything, and he's praying to Jesus. He says, what can I do? What can I do? And he says, I know what you say I should do. I should act. But if I do, maybe I'll be crucified. That fear to really act righteously. I've got that big time. I hope no one thinks I do all this stuff. I'm just telling you Buddhist stuff and what my practice is. This is my practice too. So that fear transforms into loving action. And some of our greatest heroes have been able to transform fear into action for the sake of others. Then denial. So that's this one, seeing ease as suffering and delighting in what is repulsive. Everything's okay. I don't see anything. I don't see anything bad going on. Everything's great. Denial. And that's up here in our head, transforms into awareness, pure awareness of everything as it is. And judgment, this is the fifth one. This isn't I don't know what this order is. It's just how I wrote them down. But the judgment's in our throat. That's where we talk about, oh, I see how things are, blah, 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 blah. Those people, and I do this all the time. That's why I know it so well. That judgment in our throat transforms into wisdom, seeing things as they are. Every being is Buddha. And of course, wisdom, of course we see there really are some things that are wrong. So it's part of the precepts. The precepts have all those different levels of not speaking of others' errors and faults. Generally a good idea, but sometimes we have to. We have to say, that person's bad. What that person is doing is harming others, and something should be done about it. They shouldn't be allowed to act. Okay, so that's delusion is inexhaustible. We vow to transform. Dharma gates are everywhere. We vow to enter. So everywhere, right now, this moment, there are Dharma gates to the right, to the left, in front, in back, on top, everywhere. Dharma gates to the perfection of this moment, to the realization of the perfection of this moment. Even in the worst times, they're all there. in the worst times, sometimes very, very, very hard to access, but they're always here. So just having faith, every moment is an entry place to know self, the pure samadhi. Awakening is unsurpassable. We vow to practice. So Bernie prefers manifest. Awakening is unsurpassable. We vow to manifest. So we vow to manifest as Buddha, following all this stuff. And we decided practice partly because that's the translation. Jitsujo helped us with the translation because she knows Chinese. But I don't know, can anyone just completely 100% do this, all this stuff I outlined? I doubt it. I'm certain I can't. But what I can do is continue to practice. As soon as I catch it, look at it, be it, transform it, work with it. Every day, repeat these vows. Every day, vow to practice the way. So that's the vows. That's the vows. So of course, this time of year, we tend to make vows, which I think is a good thing. I think it's also a good thing that we renew our vows every single day. And we renew the precept vows every single month. And New Year's is kind of a special time to once again just think about vows, consider our vows. And there's these vows which Maezumi Roshi call our original vows, our practice vows. And it doesn't have to be Buddhist. I mean, this is the way Buddhists see it, but just as every single person is unique, every single person's practice path is unique. But this is the Buddhist practice path. But then there's also personal vows. Our karma, I say every single person is unique. That's because we have different karmas. And we do have our needs. And our karma calls on us to take care of those, to do that. We should pay attention to it. We're not supposed to deny, I want children, I want to get a degree, I want to go to Alaska. We're not supposed to deny that. That's our life. That's our karma. We're supposed to follow that. So this is a place to look at. Are there things I really want to do that I haven't done yet? Or now is the time that I can learn Spanish. Every year I put learning Spanish down. Maybe this year will be the year. So just a time to reflect, maybe a little more than every time, on these most original vows, our practice vows, our bodhisattva vows, and then also our karmic vows, our life vows, what it is I need to do that's calling to me and that I need to listen to. I need that Mercedes Benz. I really have to do that to take care of my karma. So again, thank you so much for your practice. It's a hard time of year to practice. And it's hard because the whole world is busy going into a little time of denial. And isn't necessarily a bad thing, but we're making the effort to really be aware, super aware at this time of what we would like to, what our vows are, how we want to practice. So I encourage you to contemplate that. And I really really encourage you to keep on sitting and realize Maha Prajna Paramita, no self. It's just the best thing. All the rest of this just falls out of that. Take care of that, everything falls out of it. And taking care of it is tough. And that's what session practice is, tough. So I thank you, encourage you, and let's just keep on going.